Hi, Mary. How are you?
I am excellent. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you so much for willing to do this beautiful interview. Um, I just wanted to really honour you for doing this. I think it's absolutely amazing what you're doing. So let's delve into a little bit further who Mary Scott is. Are you okay with that?
Oh, absolutely. And you're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Beautiful. So Mary Scott is a confidence coach based in Gympie. Let me do that one again. Take two. Mary Scott is a confidence coach based in Gympie in Australia with a background in nursing and psychotherapy. She brings over 3 decades of entrepreneurial experience to her mission of helping professional women reclaim their power, reconnect with their purpose, and rise into their full potential. Mary's work includes one-to-one coaching, group intensives, long-term coaching programs, masterclasses, workshops, and motivational speaking. She's a published author, and her personal journey to fulfill a 37-year dream running the Boston Marathon serves as a powerful metaphor for what's possible when we align with our truth, trust the process, and take bold, loving action. Mary is a woman who leads from the heart and lives what she teaches. Today, we're peeling back the curtain to explore the woman behind the movement. Welcome, Mary.
Hey, Lisa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing brilliantly. Always an absolute pleasure to be here with you. I have a few questions. You haven't seen these?
No, I haven't. It's secret squirrel stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I sat and mused for a while and just got a bit of an idea of what I wanted to ask you. I think it's really important that people know who you are, get to see you, hear you, and feel you, so that the resonation of just how profound and beautiful a person you are is actually seen and felt. How does that sound?
Lovely. Thank you.
Nice. So, Mary, your journey from nursing to psychotherapy and now confidence coaching is truly inspiring. What motivated you to make that transition, and how has this shaped your approach to empowering women today?
Well, I think nursing was always my first love. The first job when I escaped school and home all in one fell sweep. And back then they used to say nurses were born, and they used to say that about me. However, underlying all that was my love of learning and growing, and I got right into personal development very early on in my life. So when I moved from New Zealand to Melbourne, it felt right then to pursue this whole notion of personal growth at a deeper level. But there was one snag because I left school pretty early. I had a full education, and here I was embarking on a somatic psychotherapy course, 3 years. Oh my gosh. So it was a miracle I even got accepted into that. And that really was a huge leap. And I had a private practice for 16 years in Melbourne. And you know what? I just burnt myself out. I love to work. I'm a crazy workaholic, mostly because I absolutely adore what I do. It really makes my heart sing. And I had a break from that, moved to Queensland from Victoria in Australia. And right back then, no one really wanted to employ someone who, especially a woman, that had a mind of her own and had mostly been her own boss, pretty entrepreneurial. So I had a few years out of the game doing some crazy wild things like working in a detention centre in the Pacific for the Australian government. And then I found myself one day saying, I better get back to my purpose. And there I started working online. And to be honest, I wasn't sure what to call myself. So I thought, I was talking to my coach one day and she said, well, you give people confidence. Why don't you call yourself a confidence coach? So that's how it started.
I love that. I love that. That's brilliant. I love it. It's just so apt, isn't it?
I think
Couldn't
you've
have
got to
called it
follow
anything
your
else.
dream. Sorry, I think you've got to follow what's in your heart. And you know, I was just writing an article today for LinkedIn, and I was talking about doing what makes your heart sing. And it's been my experience that a lot of people don't even know what makes their heart sing, Lisa. They're just doing stuff that they hate. They're bored. They're just, you know, probably growing old at a faster rate because they're just bored and they just want to get out of the rat race, really.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. I hear that a lot. So you've been an entrepreneur for over 3 decades. Can you share some pivotal moments that defined your path and the lessons you've learned along the way?
Falling forward again, hey? You know, the lessons are really learnings, aren't they? Your mistakes are your learnings. I've had so many. I think, though, the biggest mistakes really have been the ones that have informed my growth. For example, one of the massive ones was going bankrupt years ago. And I don't know that I took money seriously enough. And it wasn't just my fault. There was multiple things that went wrong that were way out of my control. But that really shaped my life, and it changed my whole relationship with money. And mostly because it's impacted my life ever since, because it's always there. Even though, yes, you get released, and that's been many years ago, people, when you're seeking home loans, any sort of loans, they can still ask that question. So it's been a massive vertical learning curve, not so much now, but back then it was. And that's truly what's informed me a lot of how I live my life today, to be honest.
I love that. All those beautiful lessons, like you said, and I love how you say falling forward, leaning forward, yeah?
Well, you have to, because otherwise, if you don't lean forward and have a go, you may as well get on the recliner, you know, and I'm allergic to recliners. I avoid them like the plague, you know. I don't want to be on the recliner. I will never own one, you know.
I agree. Your Rise Up, Power Up intensive program has created a ripple effect for so many women. What inspired this offering, and what transformations have you been most proud of to witness through this?
Well, I started talking about Rise Up and Give Back, and once again, a conversation with my coach, because I realised that a lot of people really don't often step into their greatness, which is what's required when you rise up. So I started with a 7-day program, a 5-day program, and now I've transitioned into a 2-hour workshop masterclass, if you like. And the basis for that was initially mindset, because it doesn't matter who you are. If you haven't got this together up here, you're never going to be able to run a business. You're never going to be aware of yourself, take control of your life. And since then, it's really, oh my goodness, it's kind of migrated into a deeper appreciation of building authority to our market, showing ourselves. And, you know, you hear this a lot. You've got to be authentic, but you absolutely have to be. You have to show yourself. I remember after working in the detention centres in the Pacific, you know, where we weren't really allowed to be in Facebook, suddenly online, Facebook, I didn't know anything about it. It was just like, what the hell is this and how do I learn it? And many videos, a little bit of, you know, throwing the computer out the window days, a few expletives that I wouldn't repeat here. I really got stuck into it, and now I teach people about social media, having the right mindset, and bringing those two together to be yourself and be unique. let's face it, there's too many people that look the same, sound the same, even talking the same. Oh, that's so boring. And it's not very original and it's not very exciting. I have always been someone that has loved adventure. So why not make life and business an adventure?
I agree. Couldn't have said it better, to be honest, Mary. I love that. In your book about achieving your dream of running the Boston Marathon, you share your deep personal resilience. How did that experience expand your coaching philosophy and shape the woman you are today?
Oh my goodness. I think the first thing that comes to mind is consistency. Because if you look at me, I'm no runner, let's face it. I don't have the body for a runner, but it was something I wanted to do. And I wrote a blog, 26 weeks to Boston. And one thing about writing a blog, you have to do what's required, come back and write your blog. So it was a fabulous accountability tool. And yes, I had my program to train. I had 6 months that I trained for my first marathon, which was Melbourne. Beg your pardon. It was Rotorua in New Zealand because that's my birthplace. That's what I wanted to do. But if I didn't do the training, which required discipline and it required consistency, I would never have achieved that massive and most exciting event. Let's face it, the people in the US really, really know how to cheer people on. And it was a beautiful thing to do. But what's happened from that is that this is how I run my business, just like that marathon. I do it consistently. I'm very, very persistent and I'm very disciplined. I'm organized. And yes, I probably still work too much. But I think you have to be consistent. You have to show yourself out there for who you really are. And some days you might not like who I really am, but mostly you get me in all of those days. But one thing these days is that I pretty much have a positive mindset. I might falter a bit, but I get up every day. I get excited about putting my feet on the ground and what am I going to do today? Whether it's 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, I'm excited to tackle the day.
I love that attitude. I love that because it's so good to be excited. I go to excited, curious, and I'm a little bit like you, Mary. I've got a family history of being workaholics. So I also decided, I better do something that I actually really love to do because I'm going to be doing a lot of it no matter what. So I love that concept of your consistency as well. And showing up no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. And, do I feel like showing up every day? Well, to be honest, probably I do. There might be the odd day, if I decide to take Sunday off.
Yeah.
I'm learning to do that a bit more. But, I think that to show up when you don't feel like it is great because it stretches you. And when you're stretching, you're growing. So that's a reason to show up when you don't feel like it.
Yeah. You celebrate it. As a confidence coach, you help women overcome fear and self-doubt. What are the core tools or mindset shifts you lean on to guide through someone from stuck to unstoppable?
Well, a lot of the people that I work with say to me, I just don't have the skills. And I say, really? Tell me what you know. It's like, what? Yeah, just tell me what you know. And what I've found is it's not necessarily about the skills. It's actually about the confidence. So you get someone, here's a couple of examples. You might get someone who's worked in the corporate life for a long time. They hit their 50s. They feel unappreciated. They're probably not getting paid. And there's some very good stats out there about their male counterparts, right? It's well recorded these days. So they just think, their confidence drops away and they finally give up that and they decide, I'm going to pursue something for myself. But even that takes courage and a lot of guts, quite frankly. Or it could be they've been a mum at home for a long time, and they woke up one day, the kids have gone, I've hit the 50s, what am I going to do now? And I think there's two things there that are clear to me about both those type of people, I'm going to say, is that they just lack confidence. It's quite daunting. And even going back to work, well, that might be the lesser of the two evils, but how do you do that? I read something today. It takes 3 to 6 months to get yourself back in, at least 3 to 6 months, into the market to have the skills to do. And there's another one. How do you have the confidence to do an interview? Like, my gosh, you're sitting there, you're shaking, you're tentative. It's hard work. So when people discover that actually they have a lot of skills, we just need to enhance those skills, and we'll just do one step at a time. I've had people give up their day job, as we call it, and become very successful business owners earning 6-figure incomes. Now, that's the proof in the pudding, folks, and that's where you've got to be looking at. You can say lots of things because, let's face it, Lisa, talk is very cheap. There's a lot of talk goes on. But if you can actually get some runs on the board, firstly for yourself and then for your clients, I tell you what, that makes it all worthwhile. That's what makes my heart sing. That's why I stay the course, and that's why I want to be consistent again and again and again.
Yeah, you and me both, my honey. You and me both. That's what makes me get up every single morning. So I so understand where you're coming from. You wear many hats: coach, speaker, author, entrepreneur. What are your go-to practices or rituals that help you stay grounded, aligned, and in flow? Because I actually read something on your post today in regards to this. So how apt is this? Because I'd already mused about these questions a few days ago before you actually posted this. So I'd really love to know what your go-to practices or rituals that help you stay grounded, aligned, and in flow.
Well, one of the things that I do most days is when I sit myself down here at my desk, I say, what is my intention for today? So what's your intention? Because I think you have to be clear about what your intention is before you start anything, do anything, think anything. And the second, well, perhaps not even go second, third, fourth, fifth. I like to sit in silence. I like silence. I seek silence. I have a little garden. I like to go and sit out there. I be still. I don't often like being still, but I do like silence. So I might just be mindfully walking around playing with the pot plants, and I'm just silent, and I'm thinking, I'm ruminating. And my dogs, they keep my feet on the ground. Trust me, they do. Just before this call, they were nudging me. They want to go for their walk. I'm like, you just have to wait, a little bit. So I'm not sure what you read today, but I think the other thing that probably is fundamental is that I'm pretty authentic. I'm just me. I turn up. I'm just me, how I am. This beach behind me, I've walked on it lots of times. I do love the whole feeling of water, the emotion of water, our unconscious. Everything is in water. But I suppose the stillness, if I'm really feeling a bit chaotic, put my feet on the ground, sit in a good chair that's got a straight back and just shut up for a while.
Yeah, that's what I actually read, Mary. That's exactly what it was, about that sense of stillness. And I think especially in this world, right here, right now, is to be potentially looking at being the eye of the storm, as I say to my clients, where we're in that, because that is still. And there's a lot of information coming in all aspects, everywhere, and to just allow yourself to go back within rather than going out, like you're saying. That beautiful stillness is such a gift to ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. And, It's interesting that you say that. We have a massive amount, too much, way too much. We're overloaded. People go from podcast to podcast to podcast, and in the end, they've got so much in the head they don't even know how they feel about themselves, let alone what the hell they're going to do with their lives. You know, it's an assault on us, really.
And then also, like you said, honouring that, you know, it is an assault. And if we actually just go within and give ourselves the space to be silent and still, how amazing that we'll be innately be able to get our own answers, because it's not out there. It's
Never
within.
is. Never is. I
It's
mean, we
always
can look
within.
out there till the cows come home if you like, but
Yeah.
it's always intrinsic. It's always here. It always starts here.
Yeah, every single time. I love that. With your background in both nursing and psychotherapy, how have you integrated that deep understanding of the human body and mind into the transformational work you do now?
I love that question because for years, and I think there's still people out there that think that this mind is separate from our body, but we're so integrated, you know. Our heart informs how we are, who we are, what we become. And both of those, our head, our thinking, the concepts, the action cycle, the spiritual cycle, the feeling cycle, all of those things help you to be fuller in your whole perspective about life. And, you know, one of the things in nursing, and it seemed terribly natural to me, was to be there for people. I transitioned that into psychotherapy. I've transitioned that. It just seems to be innate in me, which I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful for. And then, of course, from there, you have to, well, I've had to look at, well, how can I be kind to myself? Because that's a pretty novel thing, let's face it. I'm not 21, and when I grew up, there was this, don't you go being selfish. So it wasn't one of those things that you looked after yourself. So isn't it interesting when you talk about, you know, soul purpose? We come here to do what we were meant to do. And who would have ever thought, honestly, if you knew me back when I was a nurse, that this nurse would become a psychotherapist and hopefully a force for change, especially among women. But, you know, I think that if you trust yourself and just keep evolving, it's an evolution. And if you trust that and you get your chair squad around you, my gosh, you can achieve anything you like.
And that's what I love, you know, your whole uprising is a community and it is a cheer squad, because, you know, I think all of us have experienced or know of where women potentially cannot be very nice or generous or kind to each other. And we are potentially taught to do that in society, to bring each other down, to be catty, to be, you know, jealous or whatever. And I think that is definitely one quality that I absolutely adore about you, Mary, is that we're all here to rise to love and support, and then all of us can shine brightly and level up to the empowerment. And there is enough for everyone. There's more than enough. There's never not enough.
No, that's right. Scarcity is non-existent, really. We just make it so, you know, like there's plenty. And I think I created this saying, and I think it's a worthy thing to offer now after what you've just said, is that the level of our defendedness is the level of our fragility. Think about that. So when you hear someone being defensive or they're pushing you around or whatever, you know, usually that means that somewhere here they're very fragile. And it's in that moment you're actually being asked to transition very quickly into a little bit of empathy and a little bit of kindness. Instead, sometimes what we do is that we react, and what we need to be doing is responding. And we need to take a pause so that we can respond and give space for that person to find themselves in that minute. It's a second, honestly. It can change in a second. And I think things would change between women as well. And when I look around at the leadership, women in leadership, I wonder if there is a deep level of abundance. I can see gratitude in some and not in others. But like, it's only an observation. It's certainly not a judgment. It's more an observation. And I think gratitude's pivotal to that, isn't it?
100%. I couldn't have said that more eloquently, Mary. That was just beautiful. I love that. Looking ahead, what's lighting you up the most in your vision for Mary Scott influence? And how do you see yourself impacting the next wave of powerhouse women?
It's amazing, that you asked that question. Currently, I have attracted to me, when I say currently, the last couple of years, I've got younger people that I'm working with, young men, younger women. And I love that, because how exciting to be able to influence, I was going to say in a wise way, and they might kind of have a little bit of a giggle about that, but I think it's honestly a privilege. It's a privilege. And that's why I think when we get to 50, 60, we should never get on the recliner, because it's at that time in our lives that we have to be giving back, because when we do that, and like, for example, when I was younger, I didn't have a me out there. I would have loved it. I was seeking some wise souls, and I never quite, I think my neighbour when I was growing up, she's still in my life today in her 80s, and she was always my go-to back then when I was little. And I think there's such a place now for people 50, 60, 70, etc., to share their wisdom. And I would like to see young men, young women stepping up, grabbing the challenges. And, I recently interviewed a 16-year-old about some of the accomplishments, and I was so excited. Such a smart, talented young woman. When we spoke, we were sharing reciprocal things, and I gained, I'm sure if you asked her, she might have gained some knowledge as well. But I want to see more of this. I want to see more self-assuredness in younger people, to be true entrepreneurs, but most of all, to be authentically themselves. There is no use trying to be someone else. It's such a waste of energy. And I think culturally, especially if you get into brands, brand shoes, brand sweaters, brand jeans, all that, you just look like everyone else. What's the point of that? So let's go for a point of difference. Let's seek to be deeply unique. That'd be novel.
Unique and authentic, like you just said earlier. Being unique and authentic is just so refreshing, and that's what people love about, I think, everyone, because you can see through the fakeness, can't you? You really can.
Absolutely.
And then you've got to be consistent, and you can't be consistent being fake. So I love that. That is so beautiful. Now, Mary, how can people get in contact with you? And we'll have some information in the show notes down below. But how can people get in contact with you? And what would you like them to know moving forward?
Great question. I have a website, I nearly said website, maryscottinfluence.com. But I am very out there on Facebook, Mary Scott, and on LinkedIn. Mary Scott will find me. And you'll always see me. I'm the chick with the crazy glasses, the yellow top. My branding colors are all of this. And if you're stuck, if you're pondering new things, if you feel stuck, or the big one, if you've got an inner critic that's running your life and you're not, you need to contact me today and we'll give it a good shake and I will support you to step into greatness.
I love that, Mary. I love it. And look, I've known you for a little while now, and the first time we connected and communicated, we knew that we were soul sisters. It was inevitable for us to be having this conversation, and we didn't know that when we first had a conversation right at the beginning, but we have a lot of love for travel, yeah, and all the wonderful things of loving and supporting people, creating community, authenticity, and just being so real and putting ourselves out there no matter what.
Absolutely, yeah. You just got to keep going on and keep being yourself, and you have to fall forward. You got to skin your knees or your chin and just keep doing it and have lots of love for what you do. Be passionate. Don't be afraid to be passionate, you know.
No, exactly. Thank you so much, Mary, for your time today. I know you're a very busy woman, I know for a fact, and it's an absolute honor that you've been able to spend, you know, half an hour with me, having an amazing conversation, sharing your legacy, and that's what I believe it is, rising up to being, you know, the woman who walks her talk, and then allowing everyone else to have the confidence and desire and clarity on how to do that. So I appreciate all that you are and all that you be, and I look forward to having conversations further in regards to some other amazing stuff.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and thanks for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure, my darling.